phantasm, the delusion of a disordered mind, a phantom, a spirit, a ghost. For nearly 4 decades it has been contained, but evil always has a way of breaking free.
Welcome to the Film School. I'm Joe.
And I'm Chris.
And cheers. Oh, this is going to be fun. Oh, smooth as the bonnet of a Porsche. So we're going to step back in time in this episode, going back to, October 11th, 2018. Chris and I got a chance to see one of our favorite filmmakers of all time in the flesh, Mr. Don Coscarelli. And if you're not familiar with his films, why don't you throw out a few?
Phantasm 1, 2, 3, and 4. Bubba Ho-Tep. Beastmaster.
Perennial cable classic.
And John Dies at the End.
John Dies at the End, which I got to see at Sundance Film Festival in 2012 with this guy right here.
Yeah.
Don Coscarelli was taking his book on tour. Let me grab this for you real quick. It's called True Indie, Life and Death in Filmmaking. And image here. Bling. So he was basically promoting this book that he wrote, but it happened to coincide, I think it was a year, 2 years after the Phantasm remaster from Bad Robot.
Yeah, because J.J. Abrams is a huge fan of Phantasm, so yeah, he remastered it for
the original 79 classic.
Yep.
And we got a chance to not only meet Mr. Coscarelli with the book signing and get photos with him, as well as the photos. He was a nice meet and greet. We also got signatures. Chris has a book too. His says the same thing though. It's kind of a generic to whomever. Keep your balls in the air, which meaning the Silver Sphere, of course, from the Phantasm movies. But basically, yeah, we got to hear. He basically was there to promote this as well as the remaster of Phantasm, which I have here from the Well-Go USA Scream Factory Phantasm Collection. This is the remastered. In this artwork, the reversible artwork is on the other side. And of course, then 2 years later, they came out with the Sphere Collection.
Yeah, the Sphere Collection's amazing.
But this is a pretty cool collection too. It comes with a book and a poster of the first 5, probably all 5 Phantasm movies. I'm not sure with the passing of Angus Scrimm if we'll ever have another one, because I can't see anyone filling the tall man's shoes, right? It's like somebody else playing Ash from Evil Dead, or Ripley from Alien. It's not going to happen.
Maybe they do something like what they did in Rogue One with Peter Cushing.
Oh no, that would be interesting. Like the Uncanny Valley.
No.
Yeah. Well, we got a chance to see him while I was promoting this. We got to do a screening of Phantasm, and then there was a Q&A beforehand, which we got some footage of, which we're going to share with you, as well as we got to do a little meet and greet and get some photos. And he's actually a really nice, genuine guy.
Yeah, he's way cool. Super cool guy.
For somebody who's
kind of was giving advice for all the young filmmakers,
This is going to be one of our clips, actually.
So,
I mean, for somebody who's worked with people, true indie greats, as well as some Hollywood types, Bruce Campbell and Lance Henriksen, and the late great Ozzie Davis, of course, Reggie Bannister and Angus Scrimm. I mean, he's worked with some Mark Singer.
Mark Singer,
yeah, the Beastmaster. You remember Mark Singer from V?
Wasn't Tanya Roberts in that?
Yeah.
Beastmaster?
Yeah. And John Amos from Good Times, right? Is in it? Yeah, that cameo in Uncut Gems is himself.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. So, a really nice guy and a lot of fun. It was a great evening, and we just thought we would just kind of share that with you. So, we're going to just go into one of 2 clips, and they're very short, but one of 2 clips. The first one is Don Coscarelli just kind of basically talking about his career or just the life of a filmmaker. So, we'll just check that out real quick. And this is October 11th, 2018 at the Tower Theater in Salt Lake City, Utah. So, take it away.
Well, I've had a really interesting career. I mean, in some respects, it's just, a blessing and wonderful. In other ways, it's sort of god-awful. The thing is that, and many of the fellow filmmakers who are in the genre find out that if you're fortunate enough to have a successful horror, sci-fi type film early on, you know, good luck getting the financing for any other kind of project. So, like all of you out there, I have a vast array of interests, and through the years I've tried to get other projects going. I mean, I would love to do a World War II project, and I've got a great one I've been working on. There's a Western that I've worked on. Well, actually, for a while I was working on a horror Western with Joe Lansdale, and that would have been cool, but it didn't happen. So, no, I've got quite a bit of interest, but it's really more a function of what the market will bear. So, you know, if I've got a little, you know, splattering blood and the bodies hit the floor, I've got a lot better chance of getting it funded. But I guess you can see I got a sense of humor about it, and the thing is I've never lost my love of the horror genre. So for me, honestly, if tomorrow the funding came through for a kick-ass horror film, I would be really excited to make it. So that's my story.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun, man. That was a good night.
Yeah, no, I enjoyed it, man. It was worth. It really wasn't that expensive.
No,
like it was
not at all.
Like it was well worth the money. I was stoked.
Well, and I was not aware too that he was willing to sign more than one item.
I know. If I would have known that, dude, I would have. You know, I got the Mondo soundtrack, Phantasm Mondo soundtrack. I would have had
vinyl.
Him.
Yeah.
Because Keith, our friend Keith, brought his, and
I could have done the same thing.
Right.
Plus, I have that Rue Morgue book about the entire Phantasm saga hardback that I got from the comic shop, which is a fascinating read. I would have had him sign, but I told him I still have a one sheet. It's a VHS now available on VHS poster, but I still have a one sheet for Phantasm 2 that I got from the video shop, local video store back in 1988. And I'm like, I wish that I would have known. I told him this. I said I would have gone to my storage unit and pulled that out. And he was like, wow, you really have that? And then he proceeded to tell me how proud he was of that film. And I said, you know, as much as I love Phantasm, Phantasm 2 is my favorite.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
For sure. And that has James Lee Gross, the only film where James Lee Gross replaces A. Michael Baldwin as Mike, because the studio kind of enforced that, because that one was distributed by Universal Pictures, where the rest have all been independent.
They wanted a well-known name.
Or an up-and-coming actor.
Yeah.
Because, James Lee Gross would go on to do films like My Own Private Idaho and Point Break. He was the sensitive ponytail guy in Singles. And he was in Gus Van Sant's crappy remake of Psycho. The unnecessary, I shouldn't say crappy, I mean unnecessary remake. Shot-for-shot remake.
Drugstore Cowboy, too. He's in that.
Yeah. So, I mean, I like James Lee Gross. He's a good actor. So, big fan of Phantasm 2. And I'm glad that Mr. Coscarelli appreciated the fact that I'm a big fan of that movie too. But we also, during the Q&A, somebody else asked him advice that he could dole out to some young filmmakers, because I'm sure there were a bunch of aspiring filmmakers like ourselves in the audience, along with our buddy Keith and my friends Sean and Jonas. It was kind of cool. I knew I was going to run into people there, you know, because there's a lot of us Phantasm fanatics. The PH get what I just did. So let's go to this clip right here of Don Coscarelli dishing out some advice to young filmmakers.
Here's the thing, aspiring filmmakers, simply, I know people who make movies every weekend, and now with this technology, you know, I wish I did. Sometimes I sit around waiting for funding, and I don't, as the actors say, I don't practice my instrument, you know. But with the cell phones, cameras, and desktop editing, and the After Effects, Adobe After Effects, and visual effects, you know, I would say that aspiring filmmakers is start making films. You know, don't necessarily, you know, make them long, make short films that have punch. And by the way, you know, in terms of working your way into the mainstream film business, obviously I've become a student of how many of friends and acquaintances have broken in, and it's always different. Somebody comes up with a different path in. You know, going back to the '80s with Bruce Campbell and Sam when they made The Evil Dead. You know, they shot a trailer for their film. That's all they could personally afford to make. So they made the trailer and then started shopping that around to distributors or to investors and raised their funding that way. I always thought that was clever. Another director friend of mine, Jamie Blanks, he directed Urban Legend. He was stuck way down under in Australia, and so the challenge for him to break into Hollywood was, you know, not only the difficulty of all the small number of slots, but he also had a lot of distance to cover. The interesting thing there is they were looking for directing talent, and they'd sent one of the studios had sent a scout down there with a script for the movie I Know What You Did Last Summer. Jamie got a copy of this script, and he immediately got together with all his friends. He cleaned out his savings, took $4,000, and he went out and he shot like 4 sequences from that. And truthfully, if you analyze his little short and you look at the finished film, which he did not direct, they used so much of his material. Like, he created the look of the bad guy, the fisherman with the water and all that stuff. So he sent it into them, and they go, oh no, we already have a director for that. But they watched it and they liked it so much that they immediately flew him out and gave him the job of Urban Legend. So that was an enterprising way of breaking in. And more recently, a great way, I forgot the guy's name, but he did Lights Out. If anybody saw that film, he shot a short movie with this really cool concept, which is that every time you turn the lights out, you can see the monster. And he was able to handle the lighting and the visual effects. So you looked at it and you thought, oh, I can see that with a feature film. And James Wan's company hired him and they made a feature film. So there's a lot of, everybody finds a different way into the business. Some of them are really strange, like back in the 80s, you know, Star is Born came out now, but the previous Star is Born in the early 80s, the producer of it was Barbara Streisand's hairdresser. So hairdressing can be a path in the film. But simply it's start to experiment with the language of film by making your own films. Writing, I think, is really important because writing is, writing, editing, and directing are almost the same thing. It's just that at different phases. You're writing your film into the editing. So I could go on and on. Read the book. That's my simple answer.
All right. So yeah, just thought we'd just share that with you because that was a really good night.
And if you guys haven't seen the Phantasm movies, you need to check them out.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of them.
Because there's 5 of them.
You can't get this collection because it's out of print, and I think the Sphere collection is going to be out of print soon too. But they do sell them individually in steelbooks for like what, 1, 2, and 3, or 1 and 3.
I think. Well, the steelbook I think is just for the first.
Just for the first one, but you can buy them individually. They're worth checking out. Also, Survival Quest, Beastmaster, John Dies at the End, Bubba Ho-Tep. He did an episode of Masters of Horror that was on Showtime called An Incident on and Off the Mountain.
Oh, yeah.
That's a really good one. With, what's the kid's name? Ethan. Now I forget his name. He was in Dutch and All I Want for Christmas and Harold and Kumar Go to White Castle. It doesn't matter. Anyways, if you haven't seen any of his films or even his earlier films like Jimmy the World's Greatest or Kenny and Company, I actually enjoy all of Don Coscarelli's film. Fun fact, he was the youngest filmmaker to ever be signed a contract by Universal Studios. He was like 19 or 20 when he got his contract in his office on the lot. Wow. That doesn't happen now.
Yeah, it was right around the time Spielberg was doing Jaws, wasn't it?
Yes, it was probably around the time where he was making Jimmy the World's Greatest, his first film.
Yeah.
Yeah. To be that young and be making films professionally. So he literally has had a life.
Jaws was released in 75, so.
And if you get a chance, I highly recommend reading this book. It's a good read. I mean, there's quotes on here from J.J. Abrams, Rob Zombie, David Wong, who is the author of the book John Dies at the End, as well as Bruce Campbell. And I'll just read the Bruce Campbell one because I love Bruce Campbell. We share the same birthday. I'm a huge Evil Dead fan. I'm a big Briscoe County Junior fan. I don't know what you're telling me. Big fan of Bruce Campbell here. Although Moontrap is not a good movie. But, and neither is Maniac Cop. But,
Yeah, was just gonna mention
One or two. He gets me. Coscarelli has made indies in the truest sense for most of his career. I wanted to work on Bubba Ho-Tep not only because of Joe R. Lansdale's great concept, but because I knew that Don was beholden to no corporate decisions and could make Bubba as raw and outrageous as the movie needed to be. Don Coscarelli is as indie as they come. Bruce Campbell. Good read. So, yeah, any final thoughts on our excursion to see Mr. Coscarelli, other than please come back, Mr. Coscarelli?
Yeah, right.
Come back. Let's do like a 40th or 33rd anniversary showing of Phantasm 2. I'd be down with that.
For sure.
Now that they've got the 2K scan with that additional like 30 seconds of excised gore. So, you know.
Bruce Campbell made a cameo in The Intruder.
That's right.
He was the cop at the end.
That's right. Going back to Bruce Campbell.
Which is a Synapse release.
They got that?
Yeah, that's...
You have that, right?
Yeah.
Any good? I've never seen it.
Yeah.
Bob
alright.
Tapert? No.
Yeah.
Is it?
Bob Tapert produced it, but like Scott Spiegel
Directed it.
Who apparently Tarantino crashed on his couch when he was an up-and-coming filmmaker. Like, they were roommates for a little while.
That's funny.
Him and Scott Spiegel.
Spiegel's friends with Sam Raimi and Bob Tapert, and those guys are friends with the Coen brothers, and they know Don Coscarelli and Robert Rodriguez and Guillermo del Toro. In fact, a lot of those guys were involved with Dimension films too. You know, when you look at the photo of when Dimension first launched, it's like a who's who of horror and culty filmmakers. So, and if you like that kind of cinema, you like horror films, you like indie films, you like cult cinema, you just kind of like weird psychedelic journeys, Don Coscarelli is a good time. I am a fan. But more Phantasm 1 and 2, Bubba Ho-Tep, John Dies at the End are absolutely fantastic. Right. And I'd even throw Survivor Quest in there. Beastmaster's just a classic, though. I mean, I'm sure if you were like me and you grew up in the 80s or the 90s, you probably saw it on cable at one point because it's like a perennial favorite. Mark Singer and all his hairless, ripped glory, I guess. Weird Canadian dude from V. You remember V?
Oh, yeah.
No, it's for visitors, not victory. Visitors. Yeah. So anyways, yeah. Any final thoughts on this?
No, just check him out. Phantasm.
Yeah, definitely. The whole series is good. Thanks for joining us.
Yes.
We got some more episodes lined up. We're going to be delving into different territory besides movie reviews this year. So we're off to a good start right here. Right?
Yes, indeed.
Yeah.
Please like and subscribe.
We appreciate it.
Yeah. Hook a brother up. We love you guys.
Hook a couple of brothers up, and we'll see you on the next episode.
Yes. Take care.
Cheers.